Migos spoke to XXL about this, and they said, I think it was Uzi who said he thinks he'll be out of here in 3 to 5 years. Migos is saying the opposite. They think they're going to be like Jay-Z level.
Uzi said he'll be out for 3 to 5 years?
It was 3 to 5, right, Ak?
Uzi said it himself?
Mm-hmm. That's what he said.
Wow. He said I'll be inducted in the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And at that point, we should be getting paid off a lot of music that come through because all the songs that we have made, all the new and young artists want to sample our records and music and songs.
And I want to get honored how they do like New Edition, you know how they 20 years down, like how people come out and do our set, just stuff like that.
And 20 years from now in hip hop, I also feel like we still gonna be in the game, like my boy Jay-Z. You see how Jay-Z still in there? He still dropping record, go platinum.
Quavo's belly button was very distracting.
Yo, low-key, XXL, they definitely was trying to play Takeoff, man. You know Takeoff speaks very low. They still had his mic low. I still couldn't hear the nigga, yo. It's ridiculous.
I'm happy they letting Takeoff talk. Honestly.
Me and Takeoff should get
That's how you know
together.
XXL is trash. Because they the only place that's gonna let Takeoff talk.
You're such an asshole.
They
all right,
man.
Back to longevity,
I heard
though.
Takeoff could rap too.
No,
like
they could all rap.
What do you mean you heard? He raps on songs.
Like, no, I mean like spit, like I heard, spit.
And again, I know it's
seriously.
I know it is a running joke, but still,
I'm serious.
Yo,
no, I'm dead serious.
Yo, here's the thing, and this is the thing. I don't know if Joe knows. I don't know if Joe knows their whole like catalog. Takeoff has contributed to a lot of hits that.
Did you hear? I don't care. Did you hear it in Atlanta? Where did you hear that Takeoff is out here nosing it?
No, one of my producers told me that. Crisis told me that.
Oh.
All right. Okay. What do you evaluate? Okay, this is a good question. What do you evaluate as rapping? Because when I talk about a newer rapper, when I talk about newer rapper,
here we go.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, he could rap. He's automatically thinking on some Nas shit. So he's looking at like, you think this nigga could rap? He don't consider that rapping. Now you just said Takeoff could rap.
Oh yeah.
What do you like? What's your criteria for that? Because we were talking about Kendrick earlier. So there's somebody listening that thinks just like Joe that says you can't talk about Kendrick rapping and then say Takeoff could rap.
You can. You can.
Well, you would argue.
Okay.
Here we go.
What's our criteria of rapping? That's number one. Like, what is? Is it a flow? Is it a? I mean, nah. Hat, cat, said, rap. That's rhyming, nigga. Like, what are we talking about? Like, are we talking about putting words together in wordplay? We're not talking about message. Let's take message out of it.
Let's take results out too.
Let's take results.
Let's take results out too.
Because when we say somebody is rhyming and we say somebody can spit, we automatically think niggas trying to be deep. So let's take that out. Okay? We're just talking about, can you put words together in a clever way? Everybody can talk about killing niggas, but can you talk about killing niggas in a clever way? Different from everybody else. That's rhyming to me. That's an MC to me. No matter where you're from, no matter what you're talking about, whether you talk about saving the whales or selling packs, that is MCing to me.
Yeah.
That's an MC.
Okay.
So with that rubric, now you can differentiate the difference between somebody who's an MC and somebody who's just riding the beat and just saying whatever. Like it's a difference in that.
What's Takeoff?
Somebody told me that he's an MC. Like somebody told me this. So I need to find, and that's one from one of my producers.
I'm making jokes. I'm making jokes, but I don't doubt it. Only because most of the newer acts that their calling card is something different. Like we've heard this about Uzi, we've heard this about Lil B, we've heard this about Chief Keef. I've heard this about Nelly. I've seen it. I've heard that anytime somebody come out with some different shit, Walk I've heard this about. So we've heard this.
Chief Keef can't rap like that, bro.
I'm just telling you, when he first came out and the single was blowing up and then the remix came out, I had niggas in Chicago telling me, listen, it's working, but don't get it fucked up. He goes.
Right.
He goes. Now, do I think that means he goes like AZ? No. I don't think that. And I'm never thinking that a Takeoff. I think mine and his disconnect just comes from the generational divide.
Right.
I came up in the 90s with Redman. It was just different. Right. You came up with different things, the things that we cherish on this rubric that he keeps talking about. It's different. It's just gonna always be different, which is why anytime we talk about like one of these newer people, I throw it right to you. I don't know. I don't even know how to grade it. Because what are you grading? How I'm grading and how other people are grading clearly is very different.
It's different.
And to the topic on that, right? They said they're gonna be around for 20 years. I don't think them necessarily, and I think this is what they're trying to allude to. Their influence will definitely be felt 20 years from now.
I agree with that.
I don't know if that's true.
I agree with that. I look at it from being the fact that I teach universities. I look at it from this sense, and I always ask my students, who would you want to see when you come back for your 20-year reunion? And a lot of them say Migos. A lot of them, because you have to look at them past Migos as being just rappers. You know, a lot of rappers, and when we're talking about like Uzi and a lot of, they don't look at them as rap, they look at themselves as rock stars. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at it from a rocker's mentality, the way that Migos dress in their style, like, ain't no different from when Megadeth or Metallica gets on stage, or any other rock group, or Aerosmith gets on stage. You know what I mean? When they get on stage, they still look the same. They dress the same way they did on MTV back in the day. So if you look at Migos from that standpoint, you're talking to
nobody's
kids,
looking at Migos from that standpoint.
but you don't know that. Like, you have to understand that their fan base is not just a black fan base. They have a very wide fan base.
Right.
And
Well,
a lot of them
that's
look-
true.
But isn't that
what I
like
mean?
all entertainers? Once you get to a certain level of popularity, your fan base is probably not even primarily black.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is, from a rock star, people look at them then from from a rock star situation, not for the music, but the way they look.
I think all them niggas who claim the rock star shit, they're bullshitting because they don't want to claim the title of being a rapper.
I
Because
get that.
with a rapper, you're then held to certain
You're held to
standards,
something, yeah.
and they don't fit it because the newer generation isn't really well.
But their fashion, the way their fashion is too, is
Okay,
the
the
same
fashion.
thing. Yeah, with
He
Migos, it's a
appreciates the
fashion
fashion.
situation.
Joe does not feel the,
This nigga, he about to
the ruffles
explode.
and the
From a
florals.
fashion standpoint, some kids look at
Tell me
them.
if you don't take that Rock Nation hat.
And I'm trying to.
Are you telling me about what fashion?
I didn't say I liked it, motherfucker. I said from a fashion standpoint, I can understand why a lot of kids will look at them in that particular. I'm not talking about my personal preference. I'm talking about how kids look at Migos.
Okay, well, let
they
me
look
point
at
out.
them in that standpoint.
Well, that's great. Let me point out some hypocrisy between you two gentlemen. If you acknowledge that we are indeed in the microwave era,
Right.
and you acknowledge that longevity today is 3 years or
Right.
more,
Absolutely.
Migos already got 6.
pardon me, you can't talk and listen. If you acknowledge these things, then you also acknowledge the attention span of the children, of the kids, is minimal, to say the least.
But it all depends on who fathered the style first. Who was the first to have that particular? The Migos flow was a term. That was a term that came along.
To those who
the
don't know,
Migos
3-6.
flow. For those who don't know the second verse on Chuck D's "Bring the Noise" either. All I'm saying is the Migos flow was a term, and from that spawned a whole family tree
true.
of rappers. So therefore,
That is
from that,
true.
whoever was granted to be gifted to do that first is probably the person that's going to stay around the longest. If you look at the family tree that Gucci Mane has, there's been a lot like him, but it's only one Gucci, and he is still
That's
here.
why he's still here.
Same thing with Future. There was a lot like him, but there's only one Future. So if you are
The pioneer.
the pioneer, then you probably have the longest running term.
That's a very good point.
It is
So
a-
you
it is a
said
very
that
good
when you
point.
asked your students about who they would want to see in a 20-year union, they mentioned Migos. Do you remember any other names that come up?
Cole, Kendrick, Beyonce.
The ones we would expect.
The
Right.
only thing about that, which I agree, they might be giving you a true reflection of them now, but shit, if you asked me 10 years ago who I want to see in 20 years, I'd probably say some names that now I don't want to see.
When
So it does change and fluctuate.
It depends on what your catalog is. If you're
And-
3 albums deep, and I've successfully followed you for 3 albums, well, Cole now would be 4 albums. For Kendrick is 4. We include Section 80. If we're doing that, then they're banking on I've been following this person. If I'm looking at an 18-year-old now,
Yeah.
they've been following Cole since they were 12. You understand? So if you're following an artist that long, of course, you have a lifelong commitment to this person, and you want to see them from now. That's how it was with Tribe. It was the same way with Tribe. If it's somebody that just like I listen to for one, like Aini Kamosi, no diss to Aini Kamosi, here comes the hot step. Like, if that's that one song that's hot for the time, then it's a cool song. But somebody I've been following since adolescence, I want to see them for the rest of my life.
Okay. That makes
Hot
more
Stepper
sense.
was hard.
I agree.
And hot step was
Well,
hard.
with
With
his
the
hard.
Migos, I
hard.
don't think they'll be around for 20 years, but just their influence.
I
Their
do
influence.
think that they are talented enough to do it. I think that they possess all the skills that you would need to do it. I just
Right.
don't think that they dictate it. I don't think they determine it. And if I'm just watching the landscape, These kids is on to the next so quick.
And it depends on what
They
they
dictate
do.
it now.
Pardon me?
They dictate it now, and that's why they go with this whole culture
I
thing.
don't think they dictate it now. The power will always be with the people.
This is very true.
So while
This is
today, and this is why, listen, this is no disrespect to Migos. I think them niggas are superstars and they're amazing, even
Right.
with our incident. But if we look, Ninth produced Threat on the Black Album in 2003, right? I only even know that the Black Album came out in 2003 because the other day I just woke up in a Black Album mood. And I put it on, and I'm riding with my girl, and my girl, who's 25, says, damn, this album was hard. And so, you never heard this album? I had to look at the year. So when I looked at the year in 2003, I could not believe that came out in 2003.
14 years ago.
Think of all the changes, the sound, sonically,
It's changed.
music has gone through from then to now. I only say that to say, them niggas dominate. And that sound seems like it will dominate for the next 5, 10, maybe even 15 if they're lucky. But when the sound changes, and that's why rappers are always to be, you gotta know how to rap. Because when the sound changes, the sound will always change.
But I'm giving them
Always
credit
change.
from like 2012 when they
Me
kind
too.
of
Yeah.
Me too.
came on the mainstream level.
No,
right?
I'm only talking about the future. I'm not talking about the past. I'm only talking about the future.
But what I'm saying is that they have dictated how it's changed in some sense, which if we're just projecting, they're going to continue to dictate for some while
And it always-
until people are just off them and they can't dictate anymore.
And it also depends on the success of Quavo too. If Quavo, becomes,
You got to Beyonce that shit. You're right.
You're right. If he does that, and step out and becomes a whole nother just tentacle of
Entity,
itself,
yeah.
then that's another.
And that seems inevitable.
Well, then
right?
they might get to that 20.
Yeah, I think they will. They've been rocking for a while.
Yeah.